On this vast Earth we thought we understood, a planet mapped, measured, explained, or so we believed, yet scattered across its surface are places that refuse to fit the narrative, sites that defy time, laugh at gravity, and mock the tools of science. There are places untouched by textbook ink, places whispered about in folklore, ignored by historians, but still standing in quiet defiance. Towering stone fortresses high in the Peruvian Andes, where blocks weighing hundreds of tons fit together with such impossible precision, you cannot slide even a single human hair between them. A temple buried beneath Egypt's shifting sands, reborn through the memories of a woman claiming she had once walked its halls, not as an archaeologist, but as a priestess from a former life, and far out in Mexico's barren desert, a place where technology dies, navigation breaks, and a U.S. military missile, programmed with calculated precision, was mysteriously pulled off course, as if summoned by an unknown force deep beneath the earth. These stories were never part of your education. They exist on the edge of accepted reality, in the blind spot of modern history. Perhaps they are fragments of a version of Earth we were never meant to remember, a chapter erased, a truth buried beneath layers of curated ignorance, a truth someone or something has been hiding, but now the ground shifts, the curtain stirs, because today we are not just chasing ancient stones or strange symbols. We are tracing the footprints of something older, something otherworldly, etched into the earth like scars from a forgotten war between realms. What if the legends were never just legends? What if myth is memory, twisted by time? Could these magnificent structures truly be the work of ancient masons, or were they bestowed by visitors, not from across oceans, but from across dimensions, from the stars above, or perhaps from a hollow earth below? And now we ask you, not as a skeptic, but as a seeker, do you dare open that door? The one hidden in plain sight, the one that whispers, you were never the first. Because perhaps we are not building civilization upon stone and soil, but upon the shattered remains of forgotten age. The fortress in the clouds, Sacsayhuaman, Peru, perched at over 3,600 meters above sea level, high upon the wind-swept Andean plateau of Cusco, where oxygen thins and clouds dance so close they seem to breathe with you. There exists a monument that stares down the ages in stoic defiance. Sacsayhuaman, not merely ruins, but a colossal enigma carved in stone. Here, amidst the echoes of forgotten gods and under the shadows of peaks that pierce the heavens, stand megalithic walls constructed from stones so immense, some weighing over 125 tons, that even our modern cranes would struggle to lift them today. But the weight is only part of the mystery. These stones are carved, angled, and locked together with such surgical precision that even a razor blade cannot pass between them. No mortar, no modern tools, no explanation, just silence, heavy ancient silence, as if the stones themselves are guarding a secret, a truth buried beneath time. When Spanish conquistadors marched into Cusco in 1533, they believed they had seen the heights of architecture in Europe. And then they saw this, and they stood speechless. Some fell to their knees, others whispered prayers, because nothing in their world could explain what stood before them. They turned to the Inca and asked, "Did your ancestors build this?" And the answer came not with pride, but with an eerie honesty. No, it was already here when we arrived. Let that sink in. If the Inca, who lacked iron, steel, or the wheel, were not the engineers of this wonder, then who were? Who moved stones heavier than locomotives to this mountaintop? Who carved them with angles and joints that rival the precision of laser cutting? Who designed the zigzag walls not just as defense, but possibly as conduits of energy, or a map for something far older than empire? Some suggest that what we see is just the surface, that beneath Sacsayhuaman, tunnels stretch deep into the earth, perhaps leading to hidden chambers, perhaps something more. Could this have been a fortress? Yes, but also a beacon, a platform, a landing site for beings from beyond, ancient alien theorists propose a controversial but captivating idea that the stones weren't simply cut, but melted using high-frequency energy, softened like clay, and then molded and set, fused together like parts of some celestial machine. Technology not of this world, or of a time before memory. And if that's true, then the so-called stone masons of this place were not human, or at least not only human. Still think it's all fantasy? Then go, travel to Cusco, walk the fortress grounds at sunrise, when the stones glow golden under the first light. Run your hand along the cold seams. Feel the impossibility with your own fingers. Listen. Sometimes, it's as if the mountain hums beneath you, and then ask yourself, did we really build this world from scratch? Or are we simply wandering through the shadows of something far greater, a forgotten legacy etched in stone and silence? But the mysteries of Sacsayhuaman don't end with the stones themselves. Look closer at the layout. These towering walls aren't straight. They curve and zigzag in deliberate, calculated patterns. A serpentine flow of stone that seems to echo something deeper, something older than war or empire. Some engineers suggest the design is seismic, built to resist earthquakes, but others believe the zigzag formations are far more than structural. They may be energetic. An ancient conduit? A forgotten frequency tuner? Some researchers point to the theory of Earth's ley lines, the idea that invisible energy currents crisscross the planet, and that ancient sites were deliberately placed to harness them. Could Sacsayhuaman be one such node? A kind of geometric receiver, crafted not to withstand war, but to resonate with the very frequency of the Earth, or beyond. And if that's true, who understood these forces well enough to build for them? Now step back. Imagine the scene not as a ruin, but as it might have been, complete, glowing, humming with purpose. What if these stone walls were only the surface infrastructure of a far more complex machine? Some whisper that deep below the plateau lie chambers, sealed, unexplored. The entrances long collapsed or perhaps hidden on purpose. A stairway down into the hollow earth? It sounds like fantasy until you speak with local shamans and elders. Many still speak in hushed tones of tunnels that run for miles, leading into the belly of the earth, guarded by traps, curses, and silence. They call it Ukupasha, the inner world, a place of spirits, of ancestors, or perhaps of something else entirely. And then there is Viracocha. In Incan legend, he came not from the jungle, not from the sea, but from the sky. Tall, radiant, bearded, unlike any native man. He arrived to teach, to build, and then vanished, not in death, but in light. The myth says he walked across the waters and disappeared into the horizon. But what if it wasn't water? What if it was a portal? What we're left with today is the husk, the bones, of something we barely comprehend. Not a fortress, not a ruin, but a relic of a civilization erased. Not by time, but by design. And maybe that design wasn't human. Stand there, among the cold winds and echoing silence of Cusco's highlands. Feel the pull, not just from the earth, but from somewhere else. Because perhaps Sacsayhuaman was never meant to defend. Perhaps it was meant to receive. Receive what? Or who? The Temple of Time, Abydos, Egypt. Amidst the golden sands of Egypt's desert, where the scorching wind strips time bare like an ancient scroll unraveling in the breeze, stands Abydos. Not merely a ruin, but a threshold between worlds. Abydos, sacred to Osiris, lord of the underworld, has always been shrouded in divine reverence. To the ancients, it was a place where souls transcended, where kings communed with gods, and where life and death were not opposites, but reflections in a mirror. But this temple's strangest story begins not in the past, but in the 20th century, with a child, a fall down the stairs, a gasp, a heartbeat lost, and then a life remembered. Dorothy Eady, an English girl who once lived in London, awoke after her near-death experience, transformed. She no longer felt she belonged in the world around her. Instead, She began to speak of rituals, halls of stone, and gods whose names she had never been taught. She told her stunned parents, "I want to go home to Egypt." Years later, she would arrive in Abydos, not as a tourist, but as someone returning home. There, amidst the broken remains of an ancient sanctuary, 2,500 shattered stone fragments, scattered like a cosmic riddle, Dorothy walked as if she remembered every corner, with no blueprint, no plan, only visions from a life she insisted she had lived long ago. She guided the reconstruction of the Temple of Seti I with uncanny precision. And that should have been the end of the story. A bizarre case of reincarnation, filed under mystery. But then she spoke words that chilled even the most skeptical minds. Abydos was not just a temple. It was a gate, a doorway, a place where time bends and the gods traveled. Deep within the sanctuary, an engraving, obscure to most, obvious to few, came to light. A bell-shaped object with arcs surrounding it, pulses of energy carved in stone. To the initiated in modern science, it resembled the Tesla coil, a device not invented until 3,000 years later. And directly opposite, the solar barge of Osiris, gliding through a field of stars. Its form eerily matched the shape of what physicists today call the Einstein-Rosen bridge, a wormhole capable of connecting distant points in time and space. Were these just mythic metaphors? Or could the ancient Egyptians have seen something? Something they tried to represent with the only tools they had, stone, chisel, and symbol. Ancient alien theorists believe Abydos may have once functioned as an interdimensional portal, a transit station between realities, between here and elsewhere. And Dorothy Eady? Was she merely a mystic lost in fantasy? Or the key, the human fragment of a much larger puzzle, that reawakened a truth long buried beneath myth and stone? Some say she inherited memory. Others believe she was sent back. And the temple itself, what if it isn't just an artifact of the past, but a mechanism waiting for something to return? Because if Abydos was a door, then surely something once walked through it. But what if Abydos was never just a monument to the gods? What if it was built with them? Beneath its ancient foundation, rumors speak of sealed chambers, doors that have never been opened, inscriptions that remain undeciphered, and subterranean corridors that lead deeper into the earth and perhaps even deeper into forgotten truths. Some believe these passageways are aligned with celestial patterns, matching star formations that only become visible once every several thousand years. Coincidence? Or a map encoded in stone, guiding initiates toward knowledge long hidden? Researchers have noted that Abydos architecture follows non-Euclidean principles, bending geometry in ways that mirror resonance frequencies found in theoretical models of dimensional rifts. In other words, the temple might have been engineered to act like a vibrational gateway, triggered by sound, light, or thought. And then there are the carvings. High above the temple walls, nestled within the layers of time-worn stone, are glyphs that look impossible. What appear to be helicopters, tanks, and spacecraft etched into relief, devices that wouldn't exist for another 3,000 years. Mainstream scholars dismiss it as palimpsest erosion, carvings over carvings. But those who stood in front of the walls say otherwise. They say, this is an erosion. This is a message left behind, left for someone to return. But return from where? Was Abydos a beacon for beings from the stars? Or, as some hollow earth theorists dare suggest, could it be a relay station, part of a network of ancient power nodes connecting the surface to what lies below? Abydos, a place where memory overrides time, where a woman born in the industrial age remembered blueprints from the Bronze Age, where forgotten knowledge bleeds through the veil of myth and becomes real. So we ask again, what once passed through that gate? And more importantly, will it return? The Zone of Silence, Zona del Silencio, Mexico. In the barren wilderness of northern Mexico, where the sun scorches the very air and the wind carries the scent of scorched sand and static, lies a strange desert land known to the locals only in hushed whispers, Zona del Silencio, the Zone of Silence. No tourist map marks it. No signal escapes its invisible border, and no scientific explanation has ever fully clarified what truly happens within. Here, compasses spin wildly, as if disoriented. Phones fall dead. Radios screech, then fall silent. Even satellites lose track. As if an unseen force field strangles all modern attempts to communicate with the outside world. And then, in 1970, something truly bizarre happened. An Athena missile launched from Utah, with precise coordinates and a pre-programmed flight path, inexplicably veered off course by hundreds of miles and crashed directly into the center of the zone of silence. NASA was stunned. There was no software malfunction, no mechanical error. Only this, as one investigating engineer put it, it was pulled there. And it wasn't the only time. Multiple meteorites, even fragments of space debris, have fallen into the same spot, with greater frequency than anywhere else in the region. Why? What is pulling these objects down from the sky, like a gravitational anomaly outside the bounds of known physics? Some scientific theories suggest that the region lies on a powerful geomagnetic fault, possibly creating energy vortices, similar to the ancient intersections known as ley lines. But ancient alien researchers go further. They propose that Zona del Silencio is a fracture between realms, a portal of energy leading to a place the human mind cannot yet grasp. Perhaps the Hollow Earth or a parallel dimension. What's stranger still, the ancient Maya and the Anasazi, civilizations renowned for their advanced understanding of the cosmos, once walked this land. They built sky-watching stations here and carved intricate astronomical symbols into the stones. What were they looking for? Just another random patch of desert? Or a convergence point where sky and earth meet? If this is true, we may not just be standing on forgotten land. We may be standing at the mouth of an active system, one that connects our world to the stars. So the real question becomes, if a doorway once existed here, who sealed it shut, and more hauntingly, what or who might still be waiting on the other side? But legends surrounding this enigmatic place go back far beyond the missile incident. Local tribes have long spoken of strange lights dancing across the night sky, of whispers carried on the wind, whispers in no human tongue. There are tales of travelers entering the zone only to become disoriented, confused, even altered, as if time itself bends within its borders. Some report seeing phantom figures, tall and luminous, watching from the dunes, vanishing the moment they are approached. Others speak of missing time, of entering the zone in daylight and emerging, disoriented, hours later with no memory of what happened in between. And among the most unnerving claims, animals refuse to cross into the heart of the zone. Birds change direction mid-flight. Insects vanish. Even the very air feels heavier, charged with a tension that no instrument can record, but that every traveler feels deep in their bones. What, then, lies beneath this forbidden soil? Some satellite scans have revealed geometric anomalies underground, vast, symmetrical structures buried deep beneath the desert floor, unnatural formations that no known culture ever built, structures that seem to pulse faintly, emitting low-frequency vibrations, too subtle to hear, yet strong enough to shake the dreams of those who sleep nearby. Could this be the slumbering heartbeat of an ancient machine? A dormant gateway, sealed not by accident, but by design? And if the Maya, the Anasazi, and perhaps even older civilizations once gathered here to observe the stars, were they truly just gazing upwards? Or were they waiting for something to return? Perhaps Zona del Silencio is not silent at all. Perhaps it is humming, softly, steadily, like the breath of a giant consciousness buried just beneath our feet. And if that breath one day awakens, will we finally hear what the zone has been trying to say? Or will we find ourselves face to face with the very beings that first carved the boundaries of this planet and then vanished without a trace? Some say the zone is a scar, left by something that once broke through the fabric of our dimension, a place where the veil between worlds was not just thin, but torn wide open. Others believe it may be a containment field, an ancient quarantine left behind by a force far more advanced, designed not to keep us out, but to keep something else in. After all, is it strange that so many of the world's most mysterious places, from the Bermuda Triangle to Antarctica's forbidden zones, are heavily monitored, yet remain publicly unexplained? And yet, Zona del Silencio sits quietly, unguarded, forgotten by most of the world. Or is that part of the illusion? There are whispers of unmarked black vehicles spotted near the zone's perimeter, of strange figures collecting soil samples in the dead of night, and of local ranchers being warned, not by police but by men in suits, to stay away from certain canyons when the air feels wrong. What are they really studying out there? Why do global military satellites routinely sweep over an otherwise empty patch of desert? And why, for over 50 years, has NASA never offered an official explanation for the missile's mysterious detour? Is Zona del Silencio truly an accident of nature? Or is it a relic, a leftover from a forgotten age or a forgotten encounter? Because when we look at the stars from this place, they seem just a little closer, a little brighter. And sometimes, late at night, when the wind dies down and the sand holds its breath, some say you can hear a sound beneath the silence, a resonance, a pulse, calling out, not to us, but through us, a message written not in language, but in geometry, gravity, and vibration. The kind of message that isn't meant to be heard until the right moment comes. And maybe, just maybe, that moment is drawing near. Footprints of star beings in North America. Not Peru, not Egypt, but right here on the soil of the United States. In the forest hills and sunlit valleys we call ordinary, there lies a secret not taught in schools, not carved into textbooks, but whispered in the wind and etched into the earth. In Ohio, a serpent sleeps beneath the grass, its body coiled in silence for over 1,000 years. Serpent Mound, nearly 400 meters long, rises from the land like a living myth, a snake swallowing an egg, or a celestial equation. Coated in soil, its curves mirror the paths of the sun and stars, aligning with the summer solstice, like a cosmic clock ticking away truths we've chosen to forget. In Wyoming, the medicine wheel spins in stone, built not by machines, but by hands guided by the heavens. Its spokes align with star paths, not just to observe the cosmos, but to speak to it, because to the first peoples, this wasn't just land, it was a bridge between the world of men and the world of those who came before. On canyon walls in New Mexico, in Zuni Pueblo, ancient hands scratched the sky into stone. Triangular portals radiant star clusters, and tall beings with almond-shaped eyes and elongated heads. Creatures no zoologist could ever catalog, not of this earth, but somehow remembered. The Hopi and Zuni tribes tell a story, one that predates Columbus, predates Rome, perhaps even predates history itself. They say star beings came in flying shields of fire, descending from the skies not as conquerors, but as mentors. They landed atop mesas. They opened the skies. They spoke of balance, of knowledge, of catastrophe. And then they vanished, but not before leaving behind a map made not of ink or parchment, but petroglyphs, stone wheels, and serpent geometry. And in 1760, hundreds of years later, a chilling echo rippled through time. In Bridgewater, Massachusetts, European settlers witnessed it, a fireball tearing across the daylight sky, shrieking like a blade against the air. Not a meteor, not a comet, but something else. And it passed directly over sacred Wampanoag land, a place the tribe called the doorway to the stars. Coincidence or recurrence? What if the myths are not myths? What if they're encoded memories? Not dreams, but logs of visitations, logs of contact. And what if those beings never left? Some theorists believe the Serpent Mound is not just a symbol, but a resonance point, amplifying frequencies across Earth's grid, that the medicine wheel is not just a spiritual guide, but a transceiver, a beacon, And the carvings? The carvings are warnings. Warnings to the next cycle. To us. So ask yourself this. What if the legends were true? What if the watchers from the stars didn't simply visit, but helped shape entire civilizations? And if that's so, then we are not the first intelligent species to walk this land. We are the inheritors of a forgotten covenant, a silent pact written in stars, kept alive in song and waiting to be reawakened. Will you choose to ignore the stones, or will you begin to read them? Because the earth remembers, the stars remember, and somewhere out there, so do they. But the question that haunts us is not whether they came, it is why. Why did the star beings choose these places? Why leave signs so visible, yet so misunderstood? Perhaps they were never meant to be hidden, only misinterpreted. Across the wind-swept mesas of Arizona, the Hopi mesas rise like natural altars. Here, the Ant People legends whisper of a time when fire rained from the sky, and beings from beneath the earth, with elongated skulls and luminous skin, emerged to shelter humanity deep underground. The Hopis say it happened not once, but twice. Each time, a great cataclysm wiped the surface clean, and the Ant People saved the chosen. Do these stories echo Plato's Atlantis? Or are they remnants of a shared global memory, of a world reset by forces not yet understood? And why do so many of these tales, from the Hopi, Zuni, Navajo, to the Maya, refer to beings who arrived not as gods, but as engineers? Not with thunderbolts, but with light. Not with swords, but with symbols. Symbols carved into rock, encoded in spiral patterns, in star alignments, in geometry so precise. It mirrors the golden ratios of galaxies. It's as if Earth itself was being mapped or calibrated. But calibrated for what? Some researchers believe North America sits atop a planetary energy grid, a ley line lattice where magnetic fields spike and consciousness shifts, and that the Serpent Mound, Medicine Wheel, and other sites are activation nodes, points on Earth's body, meant to awaken during certain celestial alignments. If that's true, then we are standing on more than ancient ground. We are standing on a mechanism, a machine disguised as myth. And the star beings? They didn't build temples. They built frequencies. They left harmonics woven into the land, waiting for the right minds to hear it. Maybe they're still speaking, not with words, but through resonance. Every drumbeat of a native ceremony, every chant beneath the moon, every circle danced in silence could be part of an ancient communication protocol, one we've forgotten how to finish. And perhaps that is why the stories never die, because they are incomplete transmissions, waiting for us to answer. From the silent stone fortress upon the Peruvian highlands to the forgotten temple buried in Egypt's desert sands, from the signal-bending desert of Mexico to the whispering rock carvings of North America, together we've journeyed through places that science cannot replicate, history cannot fully record, and the modern human mind cannot easily comprehend. Are these merely coincidences? Or are they fragments of a grand design? A design that was torn apart, hidden away, and now slowly revealing itself. To those who dare to look, we may have been living on an Earth that never solely belonged to us. An Earth that once was, or still is, a meeting ground of many intelligences, many civilizations, not only from the surface, but perhaps from the skies above, the depths below, or from dimensions yet unseen. Have you ever asked yourself, why aren't these mysteries taught in school books? Why do indigenous legends from opposite sides of the ocean echo the same truths? And if we are being shielded from a truth, then who holds the key? Perhaps human history was never a complete story. It is a book missing chapters, a memoir rewritten, and a truth buried deep beneath the dust of time. Sometimes the truth isn't lost, it's buried. And now you stand before a choice. Will you continue to believe only what you are told is true? Or will you step onto the path that leads to something greater, something forgotten, From the stone fortress whispering atop the Peruvian clouds, to the sun-scorched sands where a temple was rebuilt from a past life, from the radio-dead deserts of Mexico to the carved messages of the ancients across North America, we have not merely visited strange places. We've traced the outlines of forgotten narrative, a map etched across Earth by hands, not all of them human. These are not just ruins. They are echoes, remnants of contact, fragments of a truth too great, too dangerous, or too inconvenient to be left in plain sight. Why do these places defy the laws of physics? Why do they align with the stars, not by accident, but with purpose? Why do cultures separated by oceans and millennia share the same myths as sky visitors, fire wheels, and star teachers? Perhaps because they are not myths. They are memories. Memories written not in ink, but in stone. And they whisper to those willing to listen. You may think we are alone, that we are the first, that we built the civilization from the ground up. But what if we didn't? What if humanity is not the author, but the inheritor of a story far more ancient than we dare to imagine? A story that began long before the first fire was lit, and long after the last page of history was written in our books? So ask yourself, why does no one speak of these places in school? Why does no one tell you that perhaps we are walking over the ruins of gods? And most importantly, if someone or something tried to bury the truth, what were they trying to protect? Or what were they trying to hide? Sometimes the truth isn't erased. It's entombed, waiting patiently to be remembered. And now that you've seen a glimpse, you have a choice. You can walk away and pretend these questions never reach you. Or you can go deeper, follow the symbols, decode the signs, and reclaim the chapter of human history that was never meant to be read. Join us at Alien Conspiracy Vault, where truth is no longer a theory. It's the beginning of awakening.